Hey there, thanks for watching today's Drawing for Adults class. This class is offered as a partnership between the Ann Arbor District Library and the Ann Arbor Art Center. My name is Payton, and today we're going to be talking about Georgia O'Keeffe. Georgia O'Keeffe was an American artist, and we're going to be making some art today that is inspired, of course, by her artwork. So I want to share plenty of examples of her paintings. So early on though, she was born in Wisconsin. She traveled quite a bit in her life, and at age 9 she decided to become an artist, but she received formal art training at the Art Institute of Chicago and New York Art Students League. And after 2 years as a commercial illustrator, she spent 7 years teaching in Virginia, South Carolina, and Texas while continuing her own study. So I always really appreciate her background because I am a teaching artist as well. So it's just really cool to see these artists, of course, who really made it. She was inspired by nature, and she incorporated natural found objects such as desert flowers and sun-bleached animal bones into many of her paintings. She was also greatly inspired by New Mexico. It was one of her favorite vacation spots that her and her husband, Alfred Stieglitz, who was a pretty famous photographer actually. And so the New Mexico landscape really provided a lot of inspiration for her work. And it was the vivid colors, the organic shapes, and bright lights of the desert sky and rolling hills of New Mexico that were really a source of inspiration for her. And she especially loved, the landscapes. And you can also see a lot of her work are close-up images of bones. So while she does have a lot of landscapes, she also is really magnifying a lot of her natural objects that she's looking at. And so sometimes we see the combination of nature and bones and the New Mexico landscape, while other times we see those bones, but we really see some kind of more, abstract imagery in the background. But some of the work that you might be familiar with when you think of Georgia O'Keeffe are her flowers. Once again, we're seeing, especially now I would say even, we're seeing a zoomed in close-up of a flower. Sometimes it's so close up that it's actually quite abstracted. Not always, but it depends. So here in Red Poppy, how does the artist focus the attention on the flower? Well, she's magnifying the flower so it's larger than life, right? She's also cropping the image so that it appears to be bursting out of the frame. Right? The petals are not centered perfectly around the edge of the artwork. They're instead going off the edge. They're continuing out of our sight. It's intense, there's use of vibrant colors, and just visually interesting organic shapes that take on a life of their own. So here are some of the more abstracted pieces that are, these nature kind of scenes, but again, a little bit more abstract because of how much they're zoomed in. So here's some more examples of her abstract work. During a plane trip, O'Keeffe looked out the window and saw rows of small oval clouds surrounded by negative spaces of blue sky. This painting can be found at the Art Institute of Chicago. So here's some more examples of her work. And so what we're gonna do for our art project today is do more of her zooming in technique. So we're going to zoom in on some kind of object that you have around the house. As the sun is shining, I kind of think of spring time as being such a great time to do this because of all the flowers and stuff that are starting to bloom. But if you don't have flowers around the house, something like a piece of fruit or something would also be a great option. So I am doing a slice of a grapefruit for my quick little example here. What I would encourage you to do is, sketch it first in your sketchbook to figure out really what you want to do in terms of composition. Do you want to do the whole slice? And if so, do you want it kind of bursting off the frame like Georgia O'Keeffe did in a lot of her pieces, rather than, just doing the whole piece? And this gives you, by zooming in like this, it gives you an opportunity to really, really capture the detail. Because by blowing it up and drawing it really large, you can actually draw that detail. You're not trying to cram a bunch of detail into a teeny tiny little space. So really consider that. Maybe draw out, 3 or 4 different sketches of some compositions to think about what invites you the most. What do you find the most intriguing? Then of course, once you've decided on a sketch, go ahead and transfer it onto a larger piece of paper. Whatever materials you want to use today will be great. I'm using colored pencil, like a colored pencil tool, to color it in. And then as you're coloring, I want you to really, really zoom in. I want you to look closely, and I mean like physically, like look closely, or if you're taking a picture or something, then do that zoom on your camera, to really, really capture those details and to see, okay, what am I seeing? Is it a consistent color all the way through? Or do I see shifts in value? Where are my highlights? What color are my highlights? A lot of times we're like, oh, well, highlights are white, so it must be white. But oftentimes it's not actually the case. So notice what you are really seeing, really, really trying to see what's actually there and not what you think is there. So much of drawing is just really seeing and paying attention to what's there versus what you think should be there, or what you assume to be there, or what you expect to be there. So there's a lot of little barriers like that can really prevent you from moving forward with your artwork. And it's just a matter of slowing down and thinking of it kind of like drawing with your eyes. So what you see is what you're drawing, and just kind of assume that your hand is doing what your eyes are seeing as they move across the object or photograph. Now, in terms of an object or photograph, I always say, if you're able to work from life, a real live flower or orange, lemon, grapefruit, strawberry, banana, whatever you're using. I feel like I should make a smoothie now. But whatever you're using, it's best always to draw from life, I would say. But if you only have photographs to work from, that is fine too. Now, if you are using colored pencils, I recommend as your final step to just burnish it, which just basically means pressing down really hard with your colored pencil so that everything kind of has a smoother finish. It'll make it look a little bit more polished. That is if you like that look. If you want it to have a little bit more texture, you can also just leave it. And then, think about what you want to do in the background. If you want it to be something that's a little bit more abstract or simple, or a scene like a landscape. So I hope that you've enjoyed today's lesson, and I hope you'll tune in next week.